Want a sword? Get a mentor. Hey, it's Nina Carmichael, and we make these videos because you're the most ambitious person in your circle. But you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, my husband Evan Carmichael, and the best hacks to overcome your fears. Enjoy! Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Act on your ideas.
Chasing down your dream is scary. Chances are nobody around you has done anything close to what you want to do, and they don't understand you. They think you're crazy. Well, you know what? Here's a news flash. You are crazy. And you need to embrace your crazy ideas right now, or you'll regret for the rest of your life that you never took action. So I'm a big believer that you need to trust your crazy ideas, that when an idea comes to you, you have to go off and do it. You have to teach yourself that you are a genius, therefore you come up with genius ideas, and you need to birth them into existence. Because it came to you, therefore it's good. At least that's what I tell myself. And here's a quick example. I started a new channel last week featuring IG lives of different entrepreneurs. One of the things that frustrated me was that people, your heroes, people that I love, that I look up to, that you look up to, are going live on Instagram every day, and the lives disappear in 24 hours. It's just a function of Instagram. Is after 24 hours, the lives go away. Nobody can see them anymore. And I was frustrated for myself and for you, and that all of this great wisdom was being lost. But I was also frustrated for them, for the thought leaders, for the experts, for your heroes, that they're creating this amazing content to help people, and then it just goes away. And so I wanted to help protect their legacy, preserve their wisdom, and also have something for you guys to be able to go back to again and again and again, access to thought leaders and experts and heroes. And so I thought, what if I just started a channel with their IG lives? And I came up with the idea on a Friday, and then on Friday we launched. On Friday, I started with my own live, and we had a live of one other person, and I put them up, and we launched a channel, set up the email address, set up the banners, set up the channel art, set up the playlist, set up the rules, and then started training my team on how to do it. And so now we've got, I don't know how many videos, a bunch of videos that have been put up since we've launched a channel, and that needs to be the speed at which you start to move. That you get ideas and you don't sit on them. How many ideas have you had that you've been sitting on for weeks, for months, for years? When I travel and I meet different entrepreneurs, it saddens me so much to see so many people have had a dream for a decade plus and still haven't done anything with it. The biggest problem is you're just not acting on it. And so you have to protect your dream. You have to find a spot that makes you come alive, makes you believe that you can do it. But protecting your dream doesn't mean doing nothing on your dream, right? You have to act. Even when the people around you don't understand you, think you're crazy, because again, you are nuts. It's amazing, and you have to embrace your crazy ideas.
Rule number 2, kick yourself forward.
Comparison to other people, I think, is actually a good thing. I think you need it. I think it helps you. I think it serves you. The problem is most people look at other people, start feeling insecure, and then kick themselves down. The key is to kick yourself forward, not down. But you need that kick. Otherwise, you stay where you are. This is one of the reasons why I love Model Success, why I created all my YouTube channels and all the content that I've done, and have the people behind me on the wall, because I love looking at other people. I love learning from other people. I love seeing somebody do amazing things and say, that's what's possible. This is what's possible. I look at Les Brown as an example, and I think he's the greatest speaker of all time, at least that I've seen. I don't, maybe the ancient Greeks were better, I don't know, but Les Brown, modern era, on video, I think is the greatest speaker. And I look at that and say, that's what's possible. Not that I can't do that. Here's what most people do. They look at Les Brown and say, well, I can't do that. And then they start feeling insecure, and I'm just an imposter trying to be like that now. And then they quit. And then they feel low self-esteem, and they beat themselves up over it because they're not Les Brown. I look at Les Brown and say, that's what's possible. This is what humans can actually accomplish and achieve. I want some of that. I want to get better. I want to drive and improve, not to be the next Les Brown, but be the best me. But this is what's possible. I look at David Goggins. Man, David Goggins, look, he came out of nowhere. Who was David Goggins? Did you guys know David Goggins 5 years ago? No. He blew up out of nowhere because of the passion and intensity and truth of his message, right? I love that. And it's easy to say and look at that and say, well, look at how passionate David Goggins is and look how he blew up. I can never do that. I'm not as strong as him. I'm not as crazy as him. I don't have the same mindset as him, and so I can't do that. And you compare yourself to Goggins, and then you say, well, I can't, and so you don't start. That's the problem. You should look at Goggins and say, look at what's possible. You could come from nowhere, nobody knowing who you are, and in a short amount of time, blow up because you have a message that matters. You can look at how passionate he is about his message. Every video, he's got insane passion, right? This guy, he's not gonna give you nice hugs and compliments, but he cares about his message, right? You can see that. And you can take that as what's possible. You can care deeply about your message too and model David Goggins and apply that to make your message stronger and better. I think if you just were competing with yourself, I think you're actually gonna suck. I think if you're the best at something and you don't have any competition, I think you actually suck. Being the big fish in a small pond actually limits a lot of creativity, limits your ability to go off and crush things. I think it is. I think when you even in animals, when you see animals going up against each other in a race, when somebody's close, you work a little bit harder, right? I think we need that in our ecosystem. The key though, again, is to make sure you're kicking yourself forward to say this is what is possible. Not this person's so much better than me, I suck, feeling insecure, feeling depressed. You need the kick. Just make sure you're kicking yourself forward, not down.
Rule number 3, do scary things.
Doing what you are afraid of is your path to success. Every time you take on something new that scares you, that pushes your comfort zone, that requires you to stretch, on the other side of that scary thing is the new you who is now capable of more. Most people, they shrink from scary things because they're scary. But if you want to win, if you want to hit your ambitious goals, then you have to teach yourself that you do scary things. So I recently came back from 2 pretty significant speaking gigs in my career as I'm building up and speaking on bigger stages. The first was when I was speaking at Brendon Burchard's event, and it's his Growth.com event, and Brendon, one of the greatest speakers in the world, invited me to come and talk to his group of a couple thousand people. And then I went to Ed Milet's event just recently in Whistler, and this is a smaller group, 100 so people, but they pay $60,000 a year to be a part of his program. And so they're coming to learn from the best. He sandwiched me between David Goggins and Peyton Manning. So it was David Goggins, and then me, and then Peyton Manning. That was the lineup. And so when I was backstage at the Brendon event, I remember moments before going on stage, I was the most scared that I'd been in a long time. The most nervous, the most anxious. I was afraid of disappointing people. My biggest fear is letting people down. My biggest fear is that I'm gonna let Brendon down and Dean Graziosi, who they both brought me there. And I was just gonna suck on stage. That was my biggest fear. And so I had a mini panic attack backstage. 5 minutes before going up, I have this mini panic attack and I'm forgetting what I'm gonna say. I imagine myself going on stage and just blanking out. And I tell myself, I'm Evan Carmichael. I do difficult things. I love difficult things. If I don't do difficult things, I'm never gonna accomplish great things. So I have to do difficult things. I love it. I thrive on difficult things. And then I remembered what I was gonna say. And then I went out and I did my thing. And now when I went to Ed's event, I wasn't as nervous. I wasn't as afraid. I was still scared. I was still afraid of letting down Ed Milet, letting down Andy Frisella, who they both brought me there, being between David Goggins and Peyton Manning and just being outshone. Everybody knows them. They may not know me. All of it, all of the fears and doubts, but less than what I had at Brendon's event. Not because it wasn't as big a deal, but because I had just done it. Because speaking on stage to a couple thousand people at Brendon's event and having that panic attack and getting through it changed who I was, made me stronger, made me more capable of doing the next thing. And the next thing was Ed's thing. And so if I hadn't gone to Brendon's, I would be terrified going to Ed's thing. So every time you take on these difficult challenges, you might have the panic attack. You might have the anxiety inside you. You might have that little voice to say, you can't do it. What if you fail? What if you disappoint people? What if you lose respect? What if it doesn't work out? But you know what's worse? You know what's worse than going up and failing? Not trying. Not doing it. finding some reason, finding some excuse to say you're sick, you're busy, you can't make it. But in the back of your head, you know you were just afraid. And the last thing you want to do is teach yourself that when you are afraid, that when you have an opportunity in front of you and you're afraid to do it, that you say no. You don't want to teach yourself that. You teach yourself the opposite. That when you're afraid, that when there's something in front of you that you want to do, but you're scared, you're anxious, you're worried about letting people down, that you jump in and you say, I'm all in because I do scary things.
Also, if you want to have more confidence, self-love, self-belief, check out my 254 series. The science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a habit. So I've designed a special free program to help you get it, where I will send you an unlisted video to your email for the next 254 days to shift your self-belief forward. The link to sign up for free is in the description below. Find whatever the smallest first step is, and then the smallest next step is, and continue to build those steps. And when you look back, you'll have realized that you made some pretty significant progress.
You can use rejection as fuel to help you go off and do something bigger, and motivation to, I'm going to prove them wrong.
It's got to be your life's work. If you only had to write one book ever in your life, this is it, and it's got to be amazing.
Rule number 4, stop hiding.
If I can't tell the difference between you and all of your competitors, then the only reason why I'm gonna buy from you is because you have a cheaper price. You don't want to win on being the cheapest. You're amazing, you're a genius, you have Michael Jordan level talent, and it's time for the world to see it. You need to stop hiding. So I remember not too long ago, I was in New York and I was meeting with former mentor. Wow, that's hard to say 3 times fast. Former mentor. Okay, got it. Yes. Meeting with a former mentor of mine, and he was asking what my competitive advantage was, and I said, believe. I said, believe, what is that? Like, believe, I want people to believe. I want to give people hope. I want people to have hope that it's possible and show them another way. It's like, hope? You can't be in the hope business. You're selling hope? What is that? You're never gonna win off of hope. You can't win off of believe. That's just silly. And you know, a younger version of me would have felt, man, I don't know, maybe he's right. Here's this guy who's had so much experience and done so many things. Who am I to judge? I don't know, I've never done this before. But the me who was listening to him was like, this guy just doesn't get it. I'm gonna crush off belief. I already am crushes off belief. People stop me and say, hey, you're the believe guy. Yeah, that's my mission, yo. That's what I'm doing every day. That's what I wake up trying to spread. It's the world's biggest problem, and I'm tackling it. I'm gonna make my dent in the universe, Steve, right? I'm gonna go make my dent in the universe. That's my competitive advantage. And there may be people who don't understand it, and that's okay. You can't let their limited view of the world and super limited view of you prevent you from going off and doing your thing.
Rule number 5, understand you're not a failure.
Your fear is not a failure. People aren't afraid of failure. You're afraid of failing in front of other people. You will sing in the shower, but you won't sing on the street corner. Why? Because you're afraid of judgment. You're afraid of how people will see you. You're afraid of what they're gonna say, especially if you suck at the beginning of your journey, you don't know what you're doing. And so understand that the biggest reason why you're not taking action is you're afraid of what other people are gonna think and judge of what you're doing. And just that little bit of awareness, just recognizing that I'm not actually afraid of failing, I'm afraid of failing in front of who? Who is that person? Is it your parents? Is it your spouse? Is it your boyfriend, girlfriend? Is it your kids? Is it your best friends? Is it anonymous people on the internet? Like, who are you actually afraid of? And if you can step it back and say, I'm only afraid of doing this because of how my parents are gonna see me, or how my spouse is gonna see me, or some anonymous troll on the internet, that's what I'm really afraid of, it can ease the burden. Because you're sitting there thinking, I'm afraid of failing, but you're actually not. You're just afraid of failing in front of that person. And so imagine who that person is, and then imagine failing in whatever the worst case scenario is. It's not that bad. It can give you the strength, confidence, and courage to go and take action.
Rule number 6, don't be selfish.
My biggest fear is I'm going to disappoint people. My biggest fear is I'm going to let them down. My biggest fear is that Brendan, brought me over here, put me up in this amazing hotel, and I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. I'm going to let people down. I'm going to disappoint them, and it's going to look bad for everybody. and they paid all this money to be here. And just before going on stage in the introduction, Brendan's talking about how I've helped him and how I've helped him with his YouTube channel, and just backstage I dropped all these genius knowledge bombs on him, and in my heart I'm like freaking out even more. It's like, man, as if I wasn't already stressed out enough, you gotta bump me up and fill me up even more, which in my head is more expectations, what people think I'm gonna do, people who may not even know me. Now they're gonna be, putting all these expectations on me, right? Now I have to deliver even more, right, after the big setup. I'd rather under-promise and over-deliver, not have a giant promise and then try to match it. So here's the thing that saves me, and maybe it'll work with you. I default to service. When I'm stressed out, when I'm anxious, this happens mostly when we're afraid of other people's opinions, right? When we're about to make a YouTube video, when we're about to speak on stage, we're about to do something like talking to a customer, something scary. It's usually because of other people's opinions. And what I do is default to service, when I can catch it, right? If you catch yourself feeling the panic attack, default to service. So I'll look out into the crowd and I'll remind myself, I'm not here for me, I'm here for them. I'm here for you. I'm making this video for you. Hopefully, this channel is a part of your regular routine, your morning routine, and it's giving you inspiration and ideas and belief and hope in the morning. That's why I make these videos. It's not because I love standing out here on the balcony with my arm about to fall off because I'm tired of holding this phone up, right? I'm introverted. I have no desire to see myself on camera. Every time before filming, I have these moments of anxiety, feeling like I want the new video I make to be better than before. And so I get nervous and scared every time I get, even still now, in front of the camera to make videos like this, but definitely to do crazy speeches in front of people paying 30 to 50K to be there, right? It's about service. You're built to serve. You want to help other people. Give a message that matters. And so my technique that always calms me down and always makes me feel great is, I think, this is about you. This is about them. This isn't about me. I did the same thing 2 weeks ago when I was in Whistler. Ed Milet and Andy Frisella flew me out to speak to their group. And these guys pay $60K a year to be there. There's 100 people in the room, super limited, super elite. And David Goggins spoke first, and then I spoke after him, and then Peyton Manning spoke after me. And I'm thinking, man, I gotta speak between David Goggins and Peyton Manning? Are you kidding me? And so the hamster wheel starts running, right? Who am I to be here? Oh my gosh, these guys are so crazy and like elite of the elite, and I'm gonna disappoint people. I'm gonna let people down, right? That's the thought process, and I get anxiety then. But then I remind myself this is about service, that the people here I care about, and that they're thought leaders and experts, and they need to get their message out. And I know more about YouTube than David Goggins and Peyton Manning, so let's go, right? That's the voice inside my head. That's how I get myself into action mode. So it's not about being fearless. I think if you have those moments where you feel anxious, where you feel nervous, where you feel scared, it's actually good. If you don't have anything that makes you feel nervous, anxious, scared, you have a boring life. You don't like your life. You're bored because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. You want things that are different. You want things that are outside your comfort zone. You want things that stretch you, and that comes with anxiety and insecurities and fears and doubts. That's all normal. But what you don't want to teach yourself is that when you get afraid, you play small. When you get anxious, you back down, right? That's not the message. It's through. You do it. You rise up when you do it. And the way to do it, at least for me, is one, telling myself I'm Evan Carmichael and I do scary things, right? Scary, difficult, or hard. I do those things. But then two, default to service. That this is not about you. Don't be so selfish. You have a message that can change the world. You have a responsibility to get it out there, to help people. And you staying quiet and you staying small doesn't serve anybody.
The last one before our very special bonus clip, eliminate options.
Eliminate your options. Now you know you need to do this. Being afraid isn't a good enough reason. The fact that you said you were afraid and you wanted to go do this thing, you had a thought in your mind or you wrote it down, you're not allowed to leave the site of being afraid of something without taking some action. We're going to convince ourselves of all the reasons why we can't do it. We're going to convince ourselves that we have to call that client or touch base with that employee and post that all-important post on Facebook and make that video for YouTube and all of this busy work. We got to check our email 18 times today, of course, as well, right? Eliminate the options. Eliminate the options from your life so you have no excuse to go back home, to look at your computer and say, I'm going to do something else instead of that one most important thing. Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy, but before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and what is your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of actually doing something and following through. That, Believe Nation, is not enough. 35% is not enough. We got to do something. But when you get inspired by watching a video like this and then you create a plan of action, your chances of following through jump to 91%. And when you commit publicly, like putting your comment down below with your plan, it jumps to 95%. That's what I want for you. I want you to take action. Your dreams are too important. Your life matters. Your mission has to happen. So, question of the day, your biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week, put it down in the comments below and I'm going to celebrate alongside with you.
You rarely regret the things that you do. It's what you don't do that you regret the most. It's all the missed opportunities, the times you wanted to say yes but were afraid, the moments that you wanted to bet on yourself but you were scared. Those moments, that's what you want to minimize, because it's way better to know and to fail than to never know at all. So I look at my tour as an example. I started 2019 with a tour across 23 cities, 90 days, and it was a big adventure in not regretting my life. It started off as supposed to be a free tour out of coffee shops, and my agent pushed me and said, Evan, this is playing small. My agent, Steve in New York, said, Evan, you're playing small. This is small. This is small time, man. Doing these little free things at coffee shops is small time compared to what you're capable of. You need to charge for the event. You need to book hotel rooms. You need to charge for the event. You need to get people to come out. And the thought just of doing that was already making me scared because I'm afraid of disappointing people. When it's free, there's no risk, right? I can't disappoint anybody, it's free. But when they're paying to come out, I need to make sure that I deliver. I also thought maybe, what if nobody shows up, right? What if one person shows up? That's gonna be a massive disappointment. And so I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it. But the thing that got me through was regret. I don't wanna look back. I don't wanna be 90 and look back and say, I should have done it. I was afraid to bet on myself. I would rather know and fail than not know. And so I did it. Took some convincing, took some time to digest it and eat it, but I said, I'm gonna do it, we'll do it. Then as I started on the tour, the first ones were scary, I was nervous, but then we developed a pattern, a rhythm. Every 4 days I was doing it and got it, and then it became easy. And so I needed to take another step. My next step was, I had an idea. I wanna do Q&A. My favorite part of doing workshops and meeting people is Q&A, because I don't wanna just get up and speak. I wanna help. I wanna give you practical, tactical advice that can help you in your current situation. I don't wanna just get up in front of a room and say the same thing that I would say every time. And so I was even a little slow in starting this because I had this idea for 2 or 3 cities that I want to start doing it. And I would slowly experiment. And then I was on an Instagram Live and somebody in Sacramento, which was maybe 4 stops ahead of where I was, said, hey, do it in Sacramento. Bring it to Sacramento. Be the first in Sacramento. And that one little piece of validation said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it in Sacramento. But then it bothered me that I had to wait for validation to then go off and do it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it in LA, which was my next stop. And so we had 100 people in LA in a hotel room. And I went pure Q&A. And it became the best. It was my favorite stop on the tour at that point. We had the best interaction, the most high fives, the biggest energy. Not everybody liked it. Some people came to LA as a second stop. They came somewhere else on the tour and then they came to LA and they said, I didn't like it as much. And others who came as a second stop said, this is the best format ever, right? You're not gonna please everybody all the time. But I loved it more. I had more energy, and then I brought it to the rest of my tour. But I still was slow. I was thinking about it 2-3 stops prior, and I didn't do it. I didn't have the courage to bet on myself. I was afraid that it wouldn't work out. And so every time I try to catch it a little bit sooner.
Then it got easy doing Q&A, and then I broke my neck in Denver. With a month left on the tour, I broke my neck in Denver and had a concussion and compressed my spine and staples in my head and all this stuff, and thought, you know what, I'm gonna keep going. This is now my new chance, because if I don't keep going, I'm gonna regret it. Other people would let me off the hook. Everybody around me saying, go home. My agent thought I was crazy. Go home, take care of yourself. And everybody would have let me off the hook. But I couldn't let myself off the hook. I had to at least see. I'd rather know and fail than not know. I'd rather try to do the next stops, and if it didn't work out, if I couldn't speak because I had a concussion or I was in too much pain to keep going, then I would pull back, but I would know. And the next stop was in Kansas City, and my wife had to pull me off after an hour and a half because I was done. Like physically, mentally, I was done. She had to yank me out and say, guys, it's over. And then I got up for the next one and I did the full 3.5 hours, and I kept going. And I was proud of my effort. You know, and I look back like, yes, I'm proud, because if I stopped and I went home, I would have regretted it my whole life. And so this tour became this massive life-changing moment for me, in that first I was afraid to do it because I was afraid to charge, and then I was afraid to go and do pure Q&A, and then I was afraid to keep going because I injured myself and thought I wouldn't be able to provide value. And every chance along the way, stepping up and saying, I'm going to do it. And that's where you get the growth. Whatever the thing is in your life that you're afraid of potentially regretting, you have to go do that thing, otherwise you will regret it.
If you want to learn how to overcome your fear, check out the video next to me. I think you can enjoy. Continue to believe. I'll see you there.
The over-planning and overthinking is the fear talking. That's a fear that you have to overcome, the fear of releasing imperfect things. How do you get better? Through practice. Content has to be made.